Hello and welcome to It's How You'll Be Remembered. I'm Julie Jones, your host and the Chief Encouragement Officer right here at today's Professionals headquarters. And with me today is Tom Ziglar. Tom, thank you so much for being with us today. This is a treat.
Well, Julie, thanks for inviting me. You're just an awesome person and we love working with you. And so anytime we can share some space together, that's good news for me. As
I,
we say, it's gooder.
It's gooder. I love that. Well, Ziglar, I have to say, we did not meet networking. Most of the people that I host on here are, I met networking out somewhere. But I actually begged you to take me as part of your family. Please let me in. Um, and I'm so eternally grateful to be a part of the Ziglar company and to be a coach and to go and inspire people through the legacy of your dad.
Yeah, awesome. And it's our goal to partner with like-minded people who want to change the world in their own area. And so the
Mhm.
Ziglar principles, they come right out of God's word, and they resonate. So what was true 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago is true today and will be true 100 years from now and 1,000 years from now. So
Yes.
that's what we get. That's what we're blessed to be able to do.
Yeah. And yeah, it is a blessing. It really is a blessing. I entitled this Choose to Win. As you can see, this is the book. There's an entire, not only did you write this book, which is genius, but there's a whole coaching program around this. Um, because ultimately, I think this is inspirational because it's about you. You have the power to change your life, but you have to choose it, right?
That's right. And Dad Zig Ziglar had a quote. He said, "Never give a promise without a plan."
Oh,
And it's not one of his most well-known quotes, but to me, it's one of the most powerful, specifically when it comes around coaching, because here's what a great coach does. A great coach asks the questions of, what makes your heart sing and what's your purpose and what's your why. And all that creates a lot of hope, right? A lot of that, it inspires somebody. And it's also a promise. Hey, you know what? This is something that you could pursue.
yeah,
But the difference with coaching is that's the plan. And so a great coach says, "Hey, let's figure out what your promise is, what your purpose is, what your why is, and then let's co-create a plan." And I love the word co-create because coaches don't necessarily come all with all the answers. They come with the questions.
that's right.
And right. And when you know the right questions to ask and
Mhm.
somebody they start seeing the possibility of what their life could be, then they get excited. And that's what Choose to Win is about. So the book was actually written with the idea in mind that it was also going to be a coaching program. And we made it simple.
Yeah, and it is simple and it's great. And I think that coupled with, and as you were talking, it came to mind that, in companies, if you want to complain about something, you go to your manager and you say, "Oh, I don't like the way we do this," or this is frustrating or whatever. A good manager will say, "Okay, what you got? What is your plan to improve it?"
That's
Right?
right. Bring
Don't
solutions. If you're going to bring problems, bring solutions.
That's right. That's right.
And
That's
what's interesting to me is that unfortunately, far too many people, all they've been told is what they can't do. And so when you say, "Well, what's your solution?" A lot of them like sincerely shrug their shoulders because they don't know. And they don't know because they've never been taught how.
right.
Right. And not
Right.
only have they been never taught how, but whenever that little inkling comes up, somebody comes along, usually well meaning, and they squash that dream. Or they say, "Well, who are you to think about that? How could
Yeah.
you say you could do that?" And that's not the way I believe we were designed, right? Those dreams, those things that we have inside of us, they're there for a reason, and somebody put them there. And so how do we get clarity on that? Well, we got to investigate it, right? And that's what a coach helps somebody do. That's what you do.
Yeah, it is. It's just, when people, a lot of coaches will tell you what to do. Go do this. Go write your business plan. Go write, whatever, but they won't tell you how to do it. And so teaching people how to do it, and we're all at different levels, so we have to meet people where they are and then bring them forward. And so sometimes when you and I are talking, and you're like, we need to do this, this, and this, I might say, well, come down to kindergarten level because I'm not there yet, right? Whereas other coaches who've been with you a while might kind of know where you are, and they're at a higher level. So, you have a great ability to meet people where they are, and that's really what we need to do.
Absolutely. And, we're talking about coaching, like one-on-one coaching, but we also do leadership coaching. So we work with companies,
Yes.
and we teach their leaders how to coach their people. So in that environment, we tell the leader, if you're coaching somebody, you say, so what does success look like to you? And so you let that individual kind of define what that is. And then we follow that up with well, why is that important to you? And so, well, I want that level of success because, and then now it gets really personal.
Right.
And then you just mentioned the how. The third question is, well, how do you, how can you achieve that success? And we ask it this way: what attitude could you demonstrate that would move you towards that higher level of success? And again, it's a question. And in coaching, and this is a great question that anybody, you can look in the mirror and coach yourself, is, just say, well, what attitude could I demonstrate that would allow me to be more successful so that this why I have identified comes into fruition? Your answer to that, and if a coach is asking that question, that tells the coach how aware that person is and how much the coach needs to help, fuel the direction. Some people are easy to coach. They already know what to do. They've just never been given the permission and the endorsement. Go do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Other people are more stuck, and they're like, I've tried 20 things and none of them work. Okay, well, let's figure what that means, right?
Right.
And so that's the beauty of coaching, is it's always with that it's always based on what that individual needs.
Yes. And I remember coming to you in the beginning when I was a new coach with you, and saying, this is what I have in mind. And you're like, okay. And you said, what do you need from me? And I was like, permission, I guess. And you're like, okay, go.
I can't tell. That is such a common answer. At the end of the day, people are like, well, that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And I'm like, well, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Go do it.
Yeah. Because if it's what's on your heart, there's a reason that it's on your heart. So you need to go do that. Yeah.
I was coaching a doctor, and of course I know nothing about medicine or practice. And this guy he's a doctor in Australia, so I know even less
about medicine in Australia.
Yeah. So in like 3 months, he was making 30% more income in 30% less time from the coaching.
Wow.
And so I'm like, so we're talking about it. I got those numbers from him, and we talked about some pretty innovative things, but none of those things were my idea. I just asked questions that confirmed that he was on the right path. And so I asked him, I said, so like your practice is totally different now. I mean, you've got more family time than you had before. You're able to give more time to this nonprofit that you love, right? Volunteering surgery, and you're making more income, and you're serving more patients better. than you were before. How much of that is new? He goes, oh, I've had a lot of these ideas before. I just couldn't figure out how to put them together. But really what he was saying was, I didn't know if it was okay to do that. And so we
Yeah.
had to align his motive, right?
Yeah.
And so in that particular case, I was, because he, in his heart, he knew that some of the people who were coming in, he couldn't serve them, but
Mhm.
he was spending a lot of time with them and then redirecting them. And so I said, well, what if you did it this way? So now he was serving them and connecting them instantly versus over weeks to who they really needed to see, which actually served them better and freed up more of his schedule. Right.
Right. Right.
So and so a lot of people, you're right on. A lot of people, they just need that permission and they
Yeah.
already have the plan,
Hmm.
but they need somebody to confirm it.
Right. It's lonely at the top. You've heard that a lot, right? Leaders do not have people to talk to.
You know what Dad said about that? He said
What?
there's plenty of room at the top, just not enough room to sit down.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It that you when you're at the top, you're making decisions, and you're making decisions for other people. Like, you are impacting their life. That's a huge responsibility. And it's good to have someone to be a sounding board
Yeah,
with, to have a group of people that are, or a confidant that you trust, that you can just use as a sounding board. Work it out yourself.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
have a coach.
Yeah.
And so and I've worked with coaching people for years,
Hmm.
and some, people will come in and they'll say, hey, I think our time is done. Meaning, I think I've learned everything I can, which is natural, right, in a
Right.
relationship. And
Yeah.
so my next question is, well, who's your next coach,
Right.
right? Because just because you've like maximized a particular relationship doesn't mean there's another one that's not waiting right there that to go.
Right.
Always should be seeking that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. You don't ever want to stop being coached. I mean, this is the teacher coming out in me. Learning never stops. Never. You and I have had several conversations about what we're learning right now, just going down our own journey and path. It's like, oh, I learned this, I read this book, and I heard you speak in Destin, what, a month or two ago. And after you were finished, I went up and said, okay, I need the name of that book. Where did you get that info? Because it was like, this was fascinating, right? So,
I'm glad you remember it, because I'm like 3 or 4 books down the road now. So
oh, I know. And I did a video on this last week on, really, the one habit that successful people have that unsuccessful people don't have, is the continuous learning and reading. And even if you don't sit and read, like, it's very hard for me to sit down long enough to read, and I can do it like at night or whatever, but I'm on the go so much that I love to download the books and listen to them. Um, you know, I I've gone through this book 3 times,
yeah,
and I've done it by listening to you read it to me while I'm out walking, or I'm in the gym, or I'm in the car. Um, and I'll think, okay, I need to go back and listen to this part of it, and I'll go back and kind of refresh my memory, because that's, and then I have the hard copy, and of course you can see that I use it like a workbook, and so I go in and highlight and underline all that. But it's just real important that we always learn, always grow.
always growing. You're either growing or dying. There is no
Yeah,
status quo.
that's right. That's right. Moving forward, moving backward. I love growing or dying. That's
It's
that's interesting.
it's like in sales, you're either moving closer to the sale or further from the sale,
Yes.
right? And we have a saying in sales: time kills deals, right?
Yeah. There
So
has to be a sense of urgency.
yeah, So we're either moving towards it or away from it. And in life is the same way. We're either growing or we're dying.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And we've talked about this too. And this was up when we started the show. This right here, you taught me this. You're the one who pointed out that in order to grow, we have to continue to do things that we don't want to do. We have to bust through the comfort zone. We have to do hard things. And there's a part of the brain that when you do something you don't want to do, or you make yourself learn something that you don't want to learn, your brain grows. Even at my age, my brain will grow if I do this. It controls my will.
Yeah. So interestingly, we had a group discussion yesterday, and I asked the group, and we had about 30 people in the group. The question was, what is the character quality, the spiritual quality, what we call at Ziglar, the quality of success? What's the one quality that you could develop that would supercharge all the other qualities? And we broke into small groups. And so there were 6 small groups. And it was really interesting to me because 3 of them came back and said, integrity is that quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other 3 came back and they basically said, discipline.
Yeah. Right.
So these 2 things. And
yeah.
And so what's interesting is if you have an extremely high level of integrity, it's almost automatic that you're going to have discipline, because with integrity, you know that that's required. And if discipline is your top quality, then almost automatically integrity is going to flow, right? Because when you start having discipline in the things that are going to prove fruit, then you learn quickly that it takes integrity to make that happen.
Right.
And so that I call it the ACC, the anterior cingulate cortex, right? That's part of your brain. So when they do brain scans on super high achievers, that part of their brain is bigger. It's the willpower part of the brain. It's the discipline part of the brain. And so then they started studying, well, what makes that part of the brain grow? And what makes it grow is doing something you don't like to do that you know is going to move you closer to your purpose. Mm-hmm. So if you're sitting there struggling with discipline or willpower, a simple hack that you can do is look at what your ultimate goal, your dream is, whatever it is you want to accomplish, and start listing all the things that you could do that would move you towards that. And then pick the one that you like doing the least and do that every day. So in sales, it might be cold calling, right?
Yes.
So in sales, like there's 10 activities in sales that help me to be successful in selling. Well, if I don't like cold calling, if I want to be really successful in sales, I just dedicate a certain amount of time every day to cold calling. Yep. And that part of my discipline area grows, and then it overflows into every area of my life. So so what does that mean? It means I finish the proposal now. I go ahead and make that extra callback. I do all these little extra things. And then the overwhelming result is I get faster to where I want to go, right, in my results. But why did that happen? It's because my discipline was elevated. Well, why was my discipline elevated? Because I did something intentionally that built my willpower, which is
that's right.
Right. So it's powerful.
And we know that success is really buried in your habits and your daily life. Right. I mean, that's really what it is. Successful people do the things that unsuccessful people won't do. It's not that they can't, it's that they won't. And it has to do right here with this. But that leads me to a quote of yours that I use all the time. And that is, if you want to be successful, you've got to replace things that are the habits that you're doing that are keeping you from success with habits that will drive you towards success. Right. So bad habits with good habits. Right.
Yeah. And it's really mind-bogglingly, is that a word? Mind-boggling?
Yes, that works. Yes.
Simple. You You look at any area of your life and you go, well, gosh, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm not even a 5. Well, how do I move from a 3 to an 8 or a 9 in that area of my life? Well, the fastest way to do that is because if you're like not where you want to be, it's probably because you're doing things that are keeping you from getting there. So
Yeah.
let's look at your health, for example.
Hmm.
Well,
Yes, let's.
let's just say that you rate yourself and you're a 3. So, well, what's making you a 3? Well, it's Cheetos. Cheetos are making me a 3. It's sitting on the couch all day. That's making me a 3. It is working on my computer and having caffeine late in the day because I got work to do, and then I go to bed at 11 or 12, and I get up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and I'm not getting enough sleep.
Right.
Right. And so all of those are bad habits.
Hmm.
And so we replace it with a good habit. So instead of Cheetos, I'm going to have, you know, a beef stick
Right.
instead of sitting on the couch all day, I'm going to put movement into my thing. And instead of
Yes.
doing my 4 hours of sleep, 4.5 hours of sleep a night, I'm going to go to bed earlier. And then make sure I get in my 7 hours. So all you did was replace a bad habit with a good habit.
Yep.
And suddenly this compound effect starts coming in and your whole life changes. So in the and I love this because it's kind of like in the Old Testament. Um, it never says do good. It always says stop doing evil and do good. And isn't that true? It's like we like to hold on to our whatever our vices are
Right.
and just overwhelm it with good. And that was my workout plan really until my late 30s is, well, the more I work out, the more I can eat. And that doesn't work. There's
That was a plan, like, a long time ago. That was a plan. The more
yeah,
you work out, then you can splurge and you can do these things, but what I found is that what worked when I was in my 20s does not work today. So, it's a
yeah.
completely different ballgame.
And what's ironic about that is it's not only how much you eat, it's what you eat that matters.
What you eat, that's to me, that's the most important part.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
Yeah. And my son-in-law he used to be a personal fitness trainer. And he said 85% of your health, your fitness, your muscles, all of that starts in the kitchen and what you eat. The other 15% comes from your workout. Not that that 15% is not important, but what's more important is what are you fueling? What are you using to fuel your body?
Yep. I spoke a few weeks ago down in McAllen, near McAllen,
Mhm.
for Region One. So uh, ESC Region One. So in Texas we have 20 regions, and these are
Yep.
the service centers, educational service centers that support. And when I got done with my presentation, this man came up and he's working with the school district. And so this is the interesting conversation that flowed. He said, "Hey, I really liked your story about the greenhouse paradox."
Yes.
And he said, I'm putting together a program where we're building forests on some of our campuses." And I'm like, "Well, this is South Texas. What do you mean by forest?" And he said all it means is we're going to put in native ground cover trees and things that will create shade, and then we're going to put gardens underneath it, and we're going to have the students come out and learn learn by doing the whole ecology and what whole
Right.
foods do and all this ecosystem. And I go, wow, that's awesome. And
Amazing.
I go, it'd be powerful. And he goes, what? I go, what if you could get just 2 or 3 schools and you just what they cooked at school was all whole foods, And
Yes.
he said, "Oh, I love that." And I said, "You can measure everything. So I can guarantee you this, because there's already schools that have done it around the world.
Mhm.
If you change from and by the way, this is crazy, but our schools serve more fast food than McDonald's, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, and Burger King combined."
Preaching to the choir right here. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I said, if you could just say, you know what, from the time kids get to school until they leave, the only option they have is Whole Foods. They got a wide variety, but there aren't chemicals, there aren't processing. It's cooked here, and maybe it's grown here. That would be cool. Um, every metric will go up. Test scores will go up. Absenteeism will go down. Vandalism will go
Behavior.
down.
Yep.
Every thing that you measure will change.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when we talk about replacing a bad habit with a good habit, and we talk about health and how what we eat is the most important thing. I think I read a study where teenage boys who have 2 or more soft drinks a day are 5 times more likely to have a violent crime.
Mm-hmm. Yes. There's research out there on Fruit Loops, on that we make Fruit Loops here, and then we send them off to other countries. But what we send off is not the same, because here in the United States, we like the bright colors with all the dyes. They don't allow those in other countries. And so it boils down to those dyes and what they are doing to our children. It's, but here we love the bright colors. And so the food manufacturers cater to that. And so, but it's not healthy for
Yep.
us. So I would love, you mentioned the greenhouse paradox. I love for you to share that story.
So when we talk about choose to win, I love this illustration because our success is a choice. And in the greenhouse paradox, there's a lot of stories that give different examples of this, but the one I like is that they had a forest fire in California. The Forestry Service said, "You know what? Let's speed up nature. Instead of just waiting for this to take 40 years to get to what we want,
Mm-hmm.
let's go plant saplings out there of the in-growth tree that we want." And so they did. So they planted it all over this super fertile ground, and 80% of the trees died. And they're like, "What happened?" And so when they went to investigate, what they discovered is these saplings had grown up in a perfect controlled environment, in a greenhouse, no wind, perfect temperature, perfect humidity, perfect water, everything. And so when they got planted in the real world, where the wind blows and it gets cold and it gets hot, the reason they all died, 80% of them, is because the cellular strength in the wood and the tree had never been tested with wind or environment. And so when the big wind came, they just snapped in half.
Mm-hmm.
So they did it again. And they, this time in the greenhouse, they put these giant fans. And so they're just blowing these little saplings constantly as they're growing up. And then they wouldn't water them for months. And then they changed the temperature up and down. In other words, they simulated exactly what the real world is.
Right.
And when they planted those trees, 80% of them lived. Why? Because they had the cellular strength to withstand the real world, the environment. And so the reason I talked about it to these educators is that a parallel is our schools are not meant to be a greenhouse where we cover kids from every dangerous thing and protect them because they can't handle it, right? And so we create labels and we put them in special groups. And so now they start to identify, well, this is who I am. You can't say that to me. You can't do this to me. When the reality is what they didn't change in that greenhouse was the soil. The soil was rich and nutritious in both of these examples. And that's really what a school should be. A school should be this place of rich soil And then when our kids go through hardships, we come alongside of them and say, you know what, that's terrible. I'll go with you. We'll do this together,
Yeah.
right? Because we got to teach how to be resilient.
Yes.
Instead of saying, oh no, this is unfair, say, yeah, this is tough, but this is who you are. You are going to do so good, right? And I'm going to be here with you to help you get through this.
Right.
So, right. And so then I follow that up with another quote, which is, how you think determines what you acquire. Okay. So what does that really mean? Well, uh, if think of the greenhouse, and imagine telling the little saplings that are in the greenhouse in the first example, oh, you poor little things, we're going to protect you from all that's out there because the world is mean and tough and it's not fair, and 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 good luck, and then they go out and they die. Or
Mhm.
we tell the little saplings, hey, you know what, it's going to be windy, it's going to be cold, you're not going to get any water for a while, but you were made for this, right? You were made to be strong and resilient. And so take that into your own life. Imagine you have 10 friends. Remember the quote, how you think determines what you acquire. And so let's just say these are friends that have been friends for years, and they all have different personalities. And then one of the friends comes up with this great idea and they need some help. And they're thinking, you know what? I'd love for my friends to do this with me because we're all going to make a lot of money. So would
Mhm.
they offer that opportunity to all 10 equally? Or is there a chance that the two or three friends who are always complaining, always saying that life is against them, that nothing works out, that it's unfair, that no matter what the opportunity is, all they see is the dark cloud and the negativity, are they going to go share with them this opportunity with the same excitement as the other friends who've had just as much, maybe even more adversity? But every time they talk with them, it's like, hey, we're going through this thing, but you know what? This is happening. This has happened. I got this support. And they're literally grateful that they have this opportunity, even in a tough time, to grow and help other people.
Right.
Who are you going to share that opportunity with in your friends? And so that's where that quote comes in. How you think determines what you acquire. Because
Mhm.
if your choice is that the challenges of life make me stronger and better equipped to serve and support other people, then just by human nature, people are going to share opportunity with you. If
Yes.
if your attitude is constantly victim, I'm a victim, life is unfair, no matter what I do, it happens to me instead of for me, then people aren't going to share these opportunities that with you because they need your help in getting there and they know you're not going to be helped. So look at that. How you think determines what you acquire.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true because opportunities don't go away. They go to other people, right? And so if you are thinking negatively, this is not great, I don't see the vision, and this can't happen, then you're not going to get that opportunity, but somebody else is going to come around that has a different way of thinking, and they're going to get that opportunity.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Oh my goodness. Tom, I literally could talk to you all day. You so inspiring. I do want to say, first of all, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. And you have a sales course starting this week, Thursday and Friday, mastering sales in the modern era. What does it look like today? There are still a couple of spots open. Um, if there's someone who would like to register, you can go to Ziglar.com, and there's a link there for you to check that out. I mean, come on, who wouldn't want to learn sales from the best in the business out there, right? Yeah, this is a great opportunity for anyone. And I will tell you, I am grateful to be a part of this family. And thank you so much for accepting me into it when I came begging, please let me be a coach with you. Um,
Awesome.
before we go, I always ask, I used to teach just simply business etiquette. That was my thing. And my tagline was, it's not just etiquette, it's how you'll be remembered. And that's why this show is named It's How You'll Be Remembered. Um, I think I know the answer to this, but just ask you, you know, how will you be remembered?
So my okay, so, Mark Batterson says that an inheritance is what you leave to someone, but a legacy is what you leave in someone. And so I am very intentional trying to leave in people this philosophy, this way of making choices, this way of making decisions. And I tell our coaches, I say, and our speakers and trainers who we've certified, I say, if if you take what we teach you and you achieve a personal goal, I'm going to give you a high five. If you coach someone or somebody's in your audience and they take what you taught them and they achieve something, I'm going to give you a double high five.
Yeah.
But if you coach someone and then they call you up and say that they took what you coached them and shared it with their child or their friend or a coworker, and then that person's life was improved, I'm going to do the Snoopy dance, right? My feet are
Right.
going to be in the air, right? Because that
Right.
third example is legacy,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Is so it's not, it's, and so I want to be remembered as somebody who equipped people to equip people to equip people, right? It's like, let's simplify it. Let's make it so easy to say, hey, you just got to replace a bad habit with a good habit. Have you thought about these questions?
Yeah.
And it resonates so strongly that they see the change in their life and then they can't help it. Whoever they're doing life with, they start asking those same questions and it happens again.
Right.
So
I
so
love that so much. Yes, and that is perfect because you do like to pass on a legacy in people and help people live their best life and with purpose. So I can't tell you how excited I am to have you and how grateful I am that you came on today. And I hope you'll come back sometime.
you bet. It's too much
All right.
fun.
Yeah, it's great. All right. Well, you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for being here.
You got it.